All right, folks, so we had ourselves a little draft simulation. And let me tell you, things got real chaotic real fast. I was making the picks for the Falcons based on what I would do, not what GM Terry Fontenot would pull the trigger on. That's a big difference, all right? Everything started out pretty standard. Cam Ward went off the board, then Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, no surprises there. Then, boom, first curveball. Jaguars took Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, at pick 5. Bit of a shocker. Then we saw Armin Membu and Mason Graham come off the board, which felt about right. But then, the Saints pulled off the most Saints thing ever. They took Shedeur Sanders in the top 10. Great kid, but I don't love that value that early. And then it happened. The Bears, oh the Bears, they wrecked my entire Falcons draft strategy by snagging Micah Green. That was my top guy at 15. He was the sweet spot between realistic and dream pick. That one hurt, not gonna lie. Then Atlanta's other dream pick, Jalen Walker, got scooped up by the Niners. Absolute gut punch. Cowboys took Tetaroa McMillan. Fine, I can live with that. But the board was thinning fast. I'm looking around, trying to stay calm, and then boom, Miami grabs Will Johnson, who I think is going to be an absolute stud at corner. Another one gone. Colts were up next. I thought, okay, maybe they'll pass on my guy. Nope. They took Jihad Campbell, the Alabama linebacker I had my eye on. At this point, I'm spiraling. I panicked. Full-on, Tom Hanks on Omaha Beach level panic. So what did I do? I took Nick Emenwari, the safety out of South Carolina. Now hold up. Don't throw tomatoes at me yet. I know what y'all are thinking. That's not an edge rusher, man. And you're absolutely right. The Falcons need pass rush help in the worst way, and Emenwari doesn't check that box. But the board just didn't fall our way, and I didn't want to reach on a defensive lineman with so many good ones still to come later in the draft. Bottom line, when chaos hit, I went with best player available. Emenwari's a baller. But yeah, this wasn't what we rehearsed. All right, let me talk about Nick Emenwari real quick, because if you don't know the name yet, you will soon. This dude is a freak. We're talking 6'3", 220 pounds, and he runs a sub 4.440. That's not normal. That's not your average safety. That's not even your average linebacker. That's a heat-seeking missile with cleats. But here's what I really love. He's not just a track guy. I don't care about guys who just look good running drills. I want football players. Real dudes who make plays when the lights are on. And Emenwari, he's that guy. Few pick sixes under his belt, a bunch of career interceptions, and oh yeah, he was a freshman All-American at South Carolina. First one to do that at USC since Jadeveon Clowney. That's some elite company. Now I know people might have wanted Malachi Starks there instead, and I get it. Great player. But I went with Emenwari because I think he fits better next to Jesse Bates. Starks and Bates are kind of similar stylistically, but Emenwari brings something different. He's more of a downhill striker, a tone setter. That combo? Could be nasty. Was it a panic pick? Yeah, maybe a little. Once Micah Green got ripped from under me at 10, it felt like the board collapsed. Jalen Walker, gone. Will Johnson, gone. Jihad Campbell, gone. It was like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. So yeah, we needed a plan E, and that turned into Emenwari. I passed on a couple of guys some of y'all probably liked. Boston College's edge rusher? Could have worked. Jaden Bellamy at 17? Maybe. But I didn't feel like those guys were better value than Nick. And as for Shamar Stewart, not my guy, not picking him. Simple as that. Derek Harmon and Kenneth Grant were still on the board at 21 and 22. Both are solid interior guys. And yeah, they could help fill the void left by Grady Jarrett. But the Falcons already drafted 2 defensive tackles last year. At some point, you've got to let those young guys prove something. Time for Rook or Horhoro to step up. And hey, I get it. Some fans would have rather seen us take James Pierce, who ended up in Baltimore, or Mikel Williams, who's now headed to Philly to join that Georgia Bulldogs reunion over there. But we'll get another shot at edge in round 2. Second round started off with Caleb Johnson and Emeka Egbuka getting snatched up early, followed by a wideout and a tackle. Things are starting to heat up again, and I've got a plan. Stay tuned. Round 2 might just be where we make our money. All right, round 2 rolls on, and I've got people in the chat screaming at me to take an offensive lineman after going safety in the first round. But guess what? I didn't cave to the pressure. I stuck to the plan. You build your board, you trust your board, and you draft off it. So, fast forward to pick 46, and boom, the Atlanta Falcons are back on the clock. And this time, I went with a dog off the edge, JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. Let's talk about this dude. Former five-star recruit, big-time name coming out of high school. Took a minute to get going with the Buckeyes, didn't live up to the hype right away. But man, that senior year, it was nasty. 22 tackles for loss, 12.5 sacks. He started wrecking games. Now, JT's not the kind of edge rusher who's going to blow you away at the combine. He ain't James Pierce with the burst, and he ain't Mykel Williams built in a football lab. But what he does have, motor, grit, timing, a feel for the game that shows up when it matters most. And that's what sold me. When Ohio State was chasing a title when the games actually mattered, JT showed up. You want to judge a guy based on what he does in a cupcake game in September? Be my guest. But for me, I'm looking at the playoff runs, the big-time matchups, the must-win moments, and in those spots, JT looked like an NFL dude. This guy can hold the edge, play with leverage, and bring some pressure. He's not flashy, but he's dependable. High floor. And right now, that's what Atlanta needs. You finally get your edge guy, not a speed demon, not a freak athlete, just a damn good football player.
All right, let's wrap up the second round here. JT Tuimoloau is my pick, and I'm sticking with it. Yeah, I could have gone a different route, maybe Mykel Williams or James Pierce at pick 15, then looked for a DB in round 2. I'll admit it, when Mike Green went at 10, I was this close to throwing my laptop out the window. I had him locked in for the Falcons at 15. Thought for sure he'd be there. But nah, that didn't work out. And my backup plan? A bit of a panic pick, if I'm being real. That's part of the mock draft game, though, right? It's all about adjusting when things go sideways. Instead of Mike Green, I went with Nicky Manuri, a safety out of South Carolina. And sure, he might not be the pass rusher we desperately need, but this guy can ball. Big, fast, a true playmaker with an eye for the ball. Pair him up with Jesse Bates, and now you've got a legit secondary with some swagger. You can laugh at me later, but I like the pick. Manuri is the kind of guy who can make a big impact, just not in the way people expect. Moving on, let's talk about some guys I passed on. Tyreek Williams from Ohio State would have been solid inside, but the Falcons have a decent interior with guys like Grady Jarrett, so that wasn't a need. Jared Wilson, another potential pick, could have replaced Drew Dolman, but Ryan Nell's got that locked down for now. And you've got Darius Alexander, another solid interior guy, if I'd gone a different route. Then there's Xavier Watts, the Notre Dame safety. He would have paired well with Manuri for sure. But I still think JT's got the juice for the NFL. His motor? It's ridiculous. It's a passion pick, but one I feel good about. The Falcons don't have a third-round pick this year, which is a huge bummer. I'd love to have moved back from 15 to get more picks, especially after Mike Green went off the board. But no trades allowed, so we roll with what we got. Now looking at the bigger picture, I know Manuri isn't the savior for pass rush, but I like what he brings to the table. He's got the potential to develop into something special. And you've got Bates and Terrell around him, forming a secondary that could shut things down over Hartsfield Jackson. JT at 46, high energy guy. Doesn't blow you away with speed or size, but he makes plays. He's a worker, and I like that mentality. So yeah, I took a shot. Might not get an A grade for this draft, but it's a work in progress, and we'll see how it pans out. And here's the best part. This mock was just a practice run. I'm ready for the real deal. Terry Fontenot's got the keys to the Falcons draft car, and we'll see what he does with it. If Mike Green, Jalen Walker, or Will Johnson are gone by 15, I hope Terry's got a plan and a backup plan. No more panicking, all right? No Shamir Stewart, please. We'll be live for day 1 and day 2 of the NFL draft in under a week, so make sure you come back for the real breakdown. Terry Fontenot's picks are coming, and they're going to be a whole lot different than Petey Fontino's picks. Let's see how it all shakes out.